Good morning, all. I imagine we'll have some more folks join us in a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and get started. We are so fortunate that the work that the revisioning committee has done has given us some action item goals for a congregation. And one of the things that we want to try to figure out is how does Westminster love radically? How do we lean into finding ways that we can wrap our arms around parts of the city and parts of the community that need particular attention? And we had 2 weeks ago talking about some of the work that members are doing in prison ministry. Last week we were supposed to, remember how fun it was last week, how cold it was? So we missed out on our Living Waters for the World team. They're going to be back in April to talk about their work. That was the earliest day I could work them in. But today we're going to hear about the ministry Equal Chance for Education, and want to welcome Raquel, Vanessa, and Cleaver to talk about that work. But I also want to say a word of thanks to Mike Spalding, who was in a disciple class with me, and we're reading the Old Testament prophets, and Mike was coming unglued about the injustice he saw in some of our policies that didn't allow great young people a chance for education. And so this ministry came out of that, and Westminster has been with this journey for 10 years now. It's been a decade, which is just remarkable. Let me go ahead and open with prayer, and then I'll invite Raquel. We welcome anybody who is watching online as well. Join with me in prayer. Gracious God, we are still in this Epiphany season where we follow the light of your star. And it was in this season we know that Jesus and his family had to journey as refugees. We are mindful that they are not alone in such a hard journey. Help us to have your grace to welcome those who have come amongst us. Not make their lives difficult, but find in them the children of God that you call us to care for and love. We thank you for Mike and his vision and all the commitment that he's given for Raquel and Vanessa and Cleaver and all the young people that have been able to develop potential because of our belief in them as your children. So guide us in our conversation this morning that we might be inspired to love radically after your call. For it's in Christ we pray. Amen. Raquel, thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Little louder. Okay. I am tall, so I may grab this. Okay, can you hear me now? Awesome. Good morning. My name is Raquel Oliemo. I am a member of Westminster as of 4 years now, and I joined very much because of a meeting like this. Mike invited me to come and talk about ECE in 2019. My name was different then. I didn't have a little baby who was in the nursery daycare, but I do now. All that's changed. My husband has joined. My mother-in-law has joined. She's here. My mother is here, living in Tennessee. All this has happened over the past 4 years, but back then I was just Raquel, a lawyer in town, fired up to do anything and everything for immigrants. Mike met me and had asked me to help some of his students 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, yes, anything for these students. And he said, well, come and talk to my church members about it. I said, yes, sure. But first, I need to come and see what you guys are all about. So I started coming to the church just to hear the style of worship. And I fell in love with Donovan Drake's quickfire comedy show on Sunday mornings, but very rooted in biblical teachings and care for others. I was like, man, this is really special. I'm going to keep coming to this church. So fast forward, here I am. I teach your 2-year-olds on Sundays. So today teaching you is a little different, but lots of the same tactics that I'll use. Just no goldfish at the halfway point. Sorry about that. But so that's a little bit about me. We are actually here, though, to talk about equal chance for education, much more worthy and interesting subject. Equal Chance for Education is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded in 2014 by Mike Spalding to bridge a gap in access to education for individuals who did not have access to the same funding sources to go to college. So, here in Tennessee, we have Tennessee Promise, we're so proud of. You can apply in America for a Pell Grant. You can apply for Go to FAFSA and get all kinds of access to scholarships. If you were like me, born into a family that didn't have college funding set aside for you from the day they found out you were coming into the world, let's set up this 529. Raquel's coming. She's going to be born. Unfortunately, we didn't have that, but it didn't matter for me because I was always told, if you study hard, you get those grades, you can get a scholarship. And that was true for me. Thank God I got to 8th grade and I was on that path, studying hard. I was getting great grades. By high school, I got a National Merit Scholarship. They said, you can go anywhere you want. I said, well, go me. My parents were proud. And then achieve, go, 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 get to Vandy Law. Vandy said, we want you. We're going to give you a scholarship. Took all that for granted. Graduated, became a lawyer, found out about this whole population of amazing people doing the same thing I was doing, and it didn't work the same for them. Valedictorian of their class, salutatorian of their class, great orators, big dreams, bigger than mine. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a lawyer like you. But I want to serve public interest. So that's better than my goals because I just wanted to be a lawyer. They want to do big things and it's not the same for them. Once I heard that story, I was like, man, I'm sold out. What can we do? These kids deserve the same access to higher education that those born in America have. And why do I think they deserve the same? Because they've been here all their lives. The average age of entry into America for ECE scholars is 4 years old. We've got students who entered America at 2 months old, 3 months old. They were babies. And they deserve the same access to education as their peers. So that's what we do. That's kind of why we do it. We're going to go real deep on this subject. But before we do, I think we need to establish 2, maybe 3 agreements. How many of you have read the book, The 4 Agreements? It's a good book. Highly recommend. So we'll be doing some book referrals today, book recommendations today. We don't need 4 agreements today. We just need 2. The first question, think about in your own lives for one moment, education and what it has meant to you. Let's just take a few seconds. What have you accessed in higher ed? What has it meant for you? Okay, now that you've got that answer to yourself, some of you look like you accessed education a while ago. Do you think it's still important? There are tons of attacks on the value of a higher education degree today, and I think it's somewhat warranted to have that discussion. And now that we've lived through 2 years of pandemic and virtual study, lots of students are asking themselves, do I even need this? Now that they can become millionaires on the internet by being social media influencers, right? Do they even need a higher education? So take a moment and think about, do I still believe education is important? I see some heads nodding. So let's do a poll for the first agreement that we need in order to have this discussion. A higher education degree, or at least access to the pursuit of higher education, is still important today. I need a show of hands. Okay, 99% of you agree. That's great. The 1%, you may be excused. Just kidding. The second agreement, that everyone is created equal and that children deserve the same access to rights in this country to access higher education, regardless of their immigration status. think about to yourself, if you were in school as a young person, you look to your left and you look to your right, you don't know the citizenship status of your elementary school classmates, nor do you need to. You just know that one is talkative and this one's figured out the answer faster than you, and that one's your friend on the soccer field, and that one, is very quiet. That's all you know about your peers in elementary school. Why should any one of you, because of your immigration status, have a better access to higher education? Now that you've thought about that, I need a show of hands that you agree every child deserves the same access to higher ed. Still 100%. Okay, we can have this conversation then. I think we're aligned. All right. So how did ECE begin? I really want to invite my friend to say a few words, but I'm going to just brag a little about a person I consider a personal hero. Mike Spalding saw an injustice. Family friend he'd watched grow up alongside probably his own children, was at the point of graduating from high school, and he's having casual conversation, where are you going to college? Well, I'm not. And he says, what? Why? Makes no sense. I know you're a bright young person. You should be going to college. Digs a little deeper and finds out the why has nothing to do with their interests or their ability. It's all about access. Well, I'm being charged 3 times what my peers would be charged, and that is an insurmountable barrier. So I can't go. He says, that can't be. And I love your indignant confidence. It helps me every day as an attorney. I think it's not so just because it looks so. That can't be. Dig a little deeper. Mike would. So he goes down to the college, grabs that young lady's hand. We're gonna fix this. Goes to the president's office. I understand, says a few choice words, don't know. But anyway, finds out it is, as she described. An insurmountable barrier exists because of her immigration status. So he helps her enroll in a different school where he felt more comfortable that the price quoted was equitable to what she would be able to obtain. And she goes through school because he said, I'll sponsor you. But he doesn't stop there. He goes further to understand that many other students, according to the Immigration Policy Institute, 7,000 in Tennessee alone are in this same situation. And so 10 years ago, founded an organization called Equal Chance for Education. And I know that many, many members of Westminster were instrumental in that organization's founding, naming, the excitement around it. And now 567 scholarships have been offered. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you, Mike, for being an ordinary person with an extraordinary drive to solve a problem and bridge a gap. Let's give a round of applause. It's not every day that an ordinary person does an extraordinary thing. Take a moment now for yourselves to think about what's something that you have either seen happen to someone else or that's happened to you that you felt was extraordinary. And just reflect on that, because I think too often, like me, we can move past it, right? Like the scholarships that I received in college, didn't think another second about them after I obtained my diploma, and I'm embarrassed to say that now. But allowing those extraordinary opportunities in our lives to transform us is why we're here. So 10 years, we're bridging gaps, 567 scholarships offered. It's a lot bigger than Mike, a lot bigger than me. Our work is made possible because of a team. We've got 3 staff members. We have incredible students. I'm going to introduce you to one of our staff members in just a moment. And let you hear about some of the programming that we offer and some of the initiatives. And also, if you don't mind, Vanessa Delgado can speak to some of the challenges that she observes facing undocumented youth today, because Vanessa, as our program director, not only helps us make sure that the scholarship applications come in, they're reviewed, our applicants are selected, they're interviewed, and they're coached on selection of a major because we want to make sure we're investing in students who are going to get a degree they can utilize and that they understand the path through college is not just about getting this piece of paper. You've got to have a career goal attached to that degree and figure out who your mentors are going to be. And she's really pivotal in helping us pair those students with those mentors. So I want you to talk about some of the challenges you face, because as a mentor to young people, you get phone calls that are not even about school. And we have to take those calls and make sure those students are armed with support. Before I turn the mic to Vanessa, I did also want to talk about Westminster and your incredible foundation of support for ECE. So how is Westminster involved? First, if you've got an idea or if you've been involved, I'd love to see you raise your hand. I'm seeing faces that I know have been involved. If you have connected with ECE in any way, would you mind raising your hand? That's awesome. And it's only because we are a small group on this rainy Sunday, but we would have 20 plus, I think, people raising their hands today if the full attendance was here. But I want to just call you out and say thank you so much for what you've done. The 5 or 6 ways I noted when I was just thinking about this during the program this morning. First of all, we have volunteers from Westminster who serve as mentors to our students, and that is so important. We have board members who have served by giving their time, their energy, their resources, their funding, their ideas to help us make sure we have a strong staff and that we have great leadership goals and great strategies to implement all of those. We have, obviously, our founder is a Westminster member. I am now the executive director and I'm a member here. We've got congregational support in terms of individual funding and donations, and your benevolence committee has supported us since 2017 in large part. We depend on those funds. I can tell you right now, we are enrolling students for 2024 in hopes that the benevolence committee, again, and I know that you will support us. And it's because of your support that we're able to enroll new students. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you do and have done to support ECE. But maybe there are other ways Westminster wants to be involved. If so, let us know. Maybe there are things we've done in the past you'd like to see us do differently and more inclusively towards Westminster. Like maybe today's presentation comes out of that reimagining how we can partner with organizations. Thank you for the chance to be here and thank you for your support. All right, Vanessa.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Delgado. I am the program director with Equal Chance for Education. I've been in this role almost 4 years now, actually. So a little bit about me. I am not originally from Nashville. I'm originally from Guatemala. I came to the United States when I was 2 years old with extended family. My whole family lives here now, except for my grandparents. They're still in Guatemala. I was part of ECE when I was in college. I graduated from Trevecca Nazarene University back in 2018, and I joined ECE as staff back during the pandemic. So that was really fun, navigating pandemic and a new job. But part of when I started this job and when I had conversations with people who were part of the board and on staff at the time, it was important for me to do 2 things. It was important to, 1, listen to the students and figure out what they needed. It wasn't about what I thought they needed, but they knew what they needed. And making sure that we were able to give that to them. And also, I always wanted to be authentic to the mission. That was important for me. I say all the time that ECE changed my life. I would not have gone to college if it wasn't for ECE. It's as simple as that. I was a good student. I did all the right things, and still I couldn't manage to pay for it. So I'm thankful every day for Mike, thankful every day for what they do, and continue to live that in my everyday. So those things are always valuable to me as a person, and I think us as staff, us as a board, continue to spread that. So part of that comes with programming, and I know Raquel mentioned what we do with mentorship. So we have a couple things of what that looks like. I know we have people here who have been great mentors to some of our students at different colleges and universities. It goes beyond that. It's, yes, the applications, the interviewing, and then it's orientation, figuring out what they want to see this year, how us as staff can make that happen, whether that be financial literacy, because we have students who are first gen, have never navigated what it means to have a payment plan at their school. Simple as that. We have mentoring where people don't know how to file their taxes if they never have, because you're 18 and you never have, right? We have people who don't know what it looks like to be semester based. We just have a lot of challenges. And I know Raquel also mentioned that I get a lot of phone calls, and I do, but they're usually not focused on, oh, I failed my class, or, oh, I'm having trouble studying. It's, oh, my parents, they work 60-hour weeks and I have to take care of my 2 younger siblings, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to class on time, right? It's like access to those things. I was having a conversation with someone on our board recently, and the reality is that our students are busy. They work 30 hours a week on average, plus they're full-time students, plus being at home, right? Like I said about their younger siblings, or having to translate, which I also did when I was young, which is the reality of most of us of being English speaking. So these are some of the challenges that we see of our students, just to scratch the surface of the social capital, one that is needed to understand and navigate college and university, and learning that, having people who are willing to show people, of like going to a dinner and knowing what fork to use. That is something that we don't know when you're first gen and you didn't grow up that way. And I see that now more than ever since so if you know what DACA is, which I think most of you do, that is a program that doesn't exist anymore. So we have seen a rise in students that are undocumented or have like other forms of status that aren't DACA. And so what I'm seeing as a barrier, as a challenge, is that people don't want to go to school anymore. They don't value it in the same, since they are worried about what happens after, what happens to them during, what happens to their families. They're thinking, I can just work. I can just work 40 hours and make money and not worry about all those other things. So I think that's something that everyone across the board is thinking about, and how to navigate that. But that's where we come in. We come in and say, we have all these services and programs and things that you can have access to. We have mental health counseling. We have the mentoring. We have groups that you can join that people are interested in your specific fields. You have me, and you can always talk to me, which is what I try to do. We have a lot of things that we are working on this year with the help of Raquel to create a network of support, which we see from Memphis to Johnson City, trying to create an actual robust program to where our students feel supported on their campuses, since we see that's important. And there's a lot of things that go into that, but I won't bore you with the details. I think that it's important for us as ECE and for me individually that we keep this mission going, and that we see the value in education, since we're seeing a little bit of a drop in that since pandemic. And that's my number one, is always to be authentic to the students and to give them what they need. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I'll pass it back to Raquel. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Vanessa. I would love a round of applause for the work that you do. All right, before we get to my favorite part of the session, which is hearing from another one of our students, I want to just take a moment and see if anyone has questions. Yes. Immigration status. And permanent residence. and permanent residents, citizens and permanent residents. Great question. Let's go deep. So in order to access Tennessee Promise, FAFSA, and other forms of scholarships in the US, you have to have lawful permanent residence in the US or citizenship. Lawful permanent residence, we talk about colloquially as like a green card. That's usually signifies that a person was either sponsored by a family member or an employer to come to America. And for any of you who have ancestors from another country, probably have heard their immigrant story involving some sort of sponsorship, a long waiting period, approval, and then boom, you get your green card. After a certain number of years in that status, you can obtain citizenship. For undocumented young people in America, and we're saying undocumented because they lack that document, that green card or that citizenship. It's a matter of having been brought here by a family member usually and never leaving. And the way our immigration system works, and this isn't a critique of the system, it just is what it is. If you've entered the country without proper status and you leave, you're forbidden from ever coming back for a period of time. There's a lot of red tape that you have to go through if you want to come back. So a lot of our students know that, right? And once they were brought here without any involvement in that decision-making process, they really can't leave because there's no home in any other place that they can return to. Unlike what you would see in an adult undocumented immigration situation where, let's say I decide I want to go to Mexico and overstay my visit, I can come back home to 109 Joshua's Run, right? Like I can come back home. But if I brought my child and they were asked to make that return, where are they going to go? They don't even own a passport in the country of origin, really. So that's what we see our students facing. And then Vanessa kind of talked about DACA. Let me define that for those who maybe are not familiar. DACA was a program initiated under the Obama administration, and it stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It allowed students and individuals in this situation 2 years of work authorization and the feeling of being free from threat of deportation. Deferred action only means the action is deferred, right? The deportation that you are entitled to won't occur as long as you are in this status. So you got a social security number so you could work and have a dignified, sense of status, even though it's really not lawful status. And that form of employment authorization is renewable every 2 years. And it still is for those who obtain DACA during that period of time. Now, DACA has been under threat by lawsuits in our federal system, and they're crawling their way up to Supreme Court and back up and down. And so that's why new applicants are not permitted. But for those who still have it, it's renewable. And a lot of our students have DACA. We're really thankful for that because it means on campuses they can study and not have to worry about an immigration raid or some sort of interruption to their ability to be here and study. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? And I'll talk about a couple other points. I just wanted to make sure you're clear on the immigration. Yes. Thank you for that. Oh, and there's a little bit about our history that I forgot to show. I'll go back to that in a second. But for our mechanics of our program, really one of our huge supporters is the university themselves. We have 15 partner colleges and universities. They first agreed to discount the rate of their tuition to an amount where we would be able to sponsor the student. We commit as an organization $6,250 per year, so $6,250 per year over 4 years, totaling no more than $25,000. So, and the students themselves raise $4,000 annually. So first, we need an agreement from the university that they will lower tuition to about $10,000. And then the students, we want them to have a financial stake in this. And so through DACA or through their parents' work, they raise a portion of it. And then we sponsor the rest. So first obvious way that volunteers can help us is by donating to our scholarship fund, because we are committed to make sure that the 380 students currently enrolled see no interruption in their studies. So we're constantly fundraising to make sure they can get through graduation. And then in order for us to enroll new students, we need new funds. Second way we see volunteers is through our programming. So this is a list of some of the programming we offer. Scholarship orientation. Vanessa literally travels to each of our campuses every year to sit with each student face to face and walk through a document that shows them our expectations, from GPA to reporting to going through career seminars, and the student is able to give us their questions. Some of our board members travel and join her for that orientation, but I really foresee the future of ECE involving a statewide network of volunteers that would be able to go on campuses when students have a need or need that face-to-face support, and us being able to say, hey, we'll have somebody on campus on Thursday in the library, you will meet with them. And that's where I see an opportunity for volunteers. Before we do that call for volunteers, because I know so many of you here would be willing to help us in that way, we want to have a structure so that you know exactly when and where to go. So having our partner colleges make that space available, coming together with our students to find out the best time for them, right? Because they've got schedules that we can't imagine with classes early in the morning and late at night. So figuring out that best time so you can have a critical mass of student participation, and then publishing that information so you could sign up. Hey, I'll be the Wesleyan College campus sponsor, and I'll go there on Thursdays at 12, that sort of thing. We also have a need for more advocacy and immigration support, right? This lower class of students, sophomores and freshmen who maybe don't have DACA will need support to understand their rights. What do I do on campus if asked for information? How do I explain my status to prospective employers? Do I even have a right to earn income, even though I maybe don't have a right to be employed? Could I work as a contractor? Can I open my own business? Can I get an ITIN number and accept payment for services that I perform? All that information they really need, and we can publish it on our website and prepare it. It just takes time and resources to make sure that each understand how to stay within the bounds of the law and access their highest potential. And just to preview the answer to those questions, yes, we have not seen a barrier to earning an income through co-ops, through business ownership and entrepreneurship. It's just a matter of educating our students and employers on how to support students in those categories. We also offer youth science aptitude testing, but we see some opportunities for scaling that to a different and better maybe way. And so we're open to one-on-one counseling providers, like mental health providers in the community. We have a need for trauma-informed therapy amongst our student population. And so we're looking for people to partner with us, and we'll have more information over the coming months on how we see those programs growing. I hope that answers your question. Yes, ma'am. We have always tried, and I'm going to be very vulnerable with you, to offer mentorship from community members. We, I think, thrive with peer-to-peer mentoring where it's on campus and there's a freshman being mentored by an upperclassman. We have struggled with pairing community members with students. And so right now what we're doing, we've heard loud and clear from students, from our board, and from our community that this is something we shouldn't give up on. So we're not going to. But I think the biggest pain point has been figuring out the timing, right? How do you get a student maybe who lacks transportation or who has a difficult schedule paired together with a community member who themselves is very busy, but who wants to plug into their lives? And I think the answer is through this prescribed time and place setting. So maybe a career track opportunity to plug into students. If you want to mentor students in nursing, we would be able to tell you, this is where the nursing cohort will be and when. Please come do a panel. We'll offer the goldfish. And we know that the students will be there to receive, the guidance that you have for them. And from there, you could develop one-on-one relationships with students and continue to have that mentoring relationship. But we want to be prepared with the starting point for you. And so it's a work in progress that we hope you'll stick with us because what I don't want is disenfranchised mentors, right? Because the students didn't show up, and it's not for lack of appreciation of the value of the mentor. Any other questions about how we rely on community partners to help us? Thank you for those great questions. I wanted to call out Immigration Path. We talked about, oh yeah, first gen. You touched on first gen a little bit, Vanessa. So what we're talking about here, of course, is being a first generation student is intimidating. There's a lot you don't know. I think the added layer for our students is they're both also first generation in America, right, from a young age. And so there are just many barriers that I think we don't assume. All right, statistics. Forgive me, I'm a millennial. I keep my notes on my phone, but I think these are interesting. Okay, according to the Immigration Policy Institute, we know 7,000 or more Tennessee students currently don't have this equitable access to college, but also over a lifetime, a college graduate is said to earn $1 million more than a high school graduate. This isn't always true, right? Beyonce did not go to college and she earns way more than me, but this is on average. And so this is what drives us towards continuing to try to help people access higher ed. And the funding that ECE relies on to accomplish this goal is $20,000 per year. So just wanted to talk about how sometimes that funding seems like a lot when you're trying to raise it, but $25,000 total, right, for our students to ultimately earn significantly more over the lifetime of their work can help break cycles of poverty. And I really don't think we can appreciate the long-term impact of what we're doing right now, but I'm so excited to have a reunion in 20 years or 30 years and talk about the number of students and how many lives we've changed. It's incredible to think about, but I really believe it will happen. Okay, I'm excited to soon pass the mic to you, Cleaver, and let you share your story. Before I do that, I have to call out two groups of people here that allow me to do the work I'm doing. And this isn't about me, but I have the mic, so I'm here. I'm going to talk about this. First group is the doers in this church. Obviously, what we're doing is important, and it takes a lot of sacrifice for each person who is involved. Mike, again, I will never stop being in awe of someone who gives and gives and gives until they can't give anymore. Vanessa waking up every day and doing this work, and myself doing this work. It takes time, it takes sacrifice. It's because of my family that I was able to say yes to the opportunity to do this. And I see my husband here, Lanre, my mom, Lena, and my mother-in-law, Comfort. When I said I'm considering doing this work for ECE, my mom was like, yes, I'll quit my job. I'll watch Femi every Sunday afternoon. And she did. She was a sitter for senior citizens, which is so funny because sorry to call you out, mom. She's a senior citizen herself, but she would sit with nonagenarians who just wanted conversation and someone to help them with puzzles. And she would do that about 20 hours a week. Doesn't anymore so that she can help care for Femi, my 3-year-old. And that's what gives me the time to do this work. So it's you all that lets me do this. And I thank you. And that's where the volunteerism goes beyond the obvious. ECE is supported by so many people, and we're thankful for you. The other doers in the church are folks who run the cafe and have 3 jobs and inspire me to not feel crazy for doing something extra and above and beyond. And so keep doing what you're doing. You are a light. And I think that you don't understand your influence, but other people are watching you and they're doing more because you're doing more. All right, Cleaver, we want to hear about you.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Y'all hear me? Perfect. So I wanted to start off by sharing a few things that I have on me. So first, I have a picture of me when I was young. This will be passed around too, but this is when I first got to the United States. I was about 5 years old. This is a picture of me, my dad, and we lived by a school that I'm really blessed to have gone and had the opportunity to go to, Martin Luther King Academic Magnet School. It was really close to head. And when I first got to the United States, I didn't understand the importance of that school, the history of the school, and just the community that I was in. It was a foreign location to me. I was very nervous. I didn't understand the language when I got here, and the community that I grew up in was different. There weren't too many Spanish speakers. I had one friend that would constantly try to help me translate. I remember sitting down in the table, in the kitchen table, trying to practice the word five, how to say it, how to write it consistently. And it would take hours and hours and hours, and I would just cry and cry and cry, saying that I can't, I can't, I can't. But I would always have people be right next to me, trying to support me, and I'm always blessed and always thankful for people who are doing that work and helping students and helping their community out. It's amazing to see that, and you're giving back, and you're teaching a lot of amazing lessons. And the second thing that I brought is a book that I was able to write when I was in 6th grade. So my teacher, Mr. Robertson, he really emphasized the idea of documenting your life and documenting what you've done to make sure that you're able to provide and able to share that information to other generations of students or other people, because sometimes we feel like we're the only person going through a situation, and but in reality you're not the first one. There's been people who have gone through similar situations, maybe not the exact situation you're going through, but a situation that that speaks to multiple generations. And so he emphasized the idea of documenting that down. And I've really seen the value of that. Whenever I go online on LinkedIn, or whenever I'm trying to do some of my work where I try to mentor some of the younger students in our scholarship, or just students in general, I see those who come before us. I've seen those students who did not have DACA, who navigated this field or this circumstance with great passion, and I've seen what they've done. Looking at what paths they've seen, what opportunities they took advantage of, who did they communicate with, and what jobs were available for them at that time. And if they didn't post that, or if they didn't share that information, you would feel unseen or unheard. And then the very last um, thing I'm sharing is a picture of me, Freedom to Thrive. And you can look up the article, Freedom to Thrive, Cleaver Reese, and it's me documenting that, me telling my story and sharing it to a wider audience, making sure that I put that information out and share it to people who, so they know where they can plug in, what I've done, and how the work has developed. So I'll start it off going from here. So currently, I'm a junior at Lipscomb University studying electrical and computer engineering, and I'm really passionate about the work that I'm doing over there. As Vanessa and Raquel mentioned, we've seen a lot of students come up in the scholarship that have not had are not having the same opportunities that I am having. I have DACA. I have that privilege of having a work permit and having a social security number. While temporary and while still in litigation, it still allows me to give and provide so much for my family. My wife was just here a minute ago. Unfortunately, she had to go to church with her family, but it has given me so many privileges, so many opportunities, and I am so blessed to have it. That's why I want to give back to the newer generation of students that are coming up. Many of them won't have DACA. Many of them won't have that opportunity to work at a company, however small, make that income, and do it the quote unquote right way. We're finding solutions. We host STEM Power Hour. If you get our weekly newsletter, we host STEM Power Hour started by me and 2 other students to see how we can get students um, connected to jobs in STEM that they would otherwise not be able to because of that barrier. We have students too that volunteer with Turk and volunteer with many organizations around Nashville, because we're so plugged in. We built a community from the ground up. Me, for example, I've worked in construction and house cleaning, and I met some amazing folks. I've helped grow Nashville, and I feel like I have my roots invested in the city. I've I've helped my dad with drywall in parts of Brentwood, Smyrna, Hendersonville, and I've met some amazing people. And people that might not necessarily agree with some of the immigration stuff that's going on right now, and maybe not fully understand the situation, but them seeing us in the community, them knowing that we're here, and them seeing the hard work that we do is very valuable. Just making sure you're looking at all the things that are going in your city, making sure that you see some of the struggles, some of the things that you can plug in is very important. And that's a lesson that I learned at a very young age, and I'm blessed to have learned many lessons. I've learned lessons from some of the mentors that I've had, some of the teachers, and honestly, a lot from television and movies. When I first got here, there was a lady, Miss Cynthia. She's from Brazil. She came to the United States. She had her own situation where she navigated and then shared that information to me and my mother when we were contracted to help clean her house. And she would give me Leapfrog CDs that I would practice my ABCs, I would practice my numbers, and I would practice just learning and getting used to some of the some of the information that was I was being tested on. And I will also learn a lot of lessons from um, movies that might not necessarily connect with me, but I might not see myself in that person, but I would see the lessons they learned and see the the sacrifices they've done and how far they've gone, because it's difficult at times. Just hearing what a lot of us go through, it's very saddening, and it's oof, we 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 go through a lot, and we try to keep our heads up a lot of times, making sure that we stay focused on our goals. But sometimes when you get so much hate, or sometimes when you're in a dark place, you don't see the light. And making sure that our students see that light is very important. And that's what the scholarship's for. It's a light in a dark tunnel. It helps us get out of the shadows. Me, for example, in high school, in 2020, right around the pandemic, I was in a very dark spot in my life. My home situation was very unstable. I was working really hard, making sure that I would focus on my studies, and I was taking like 7 AP classes. I failed one class, and some of the other classes I was struggling with, but I had teachers that would keep pushing me. And the one class, funny enough, was physics, a class that I was really passionate about, and every day I would go in and just like be blown away by some of the discoveries people have done and some of the methods they found to solve problems. I was blown away. Students were so engaged in the class that we even tallied up the number of times our minds were blown. Um, but unfortunately, the class, I ended up getting an F. Thankfully, I still had an honors class that I was able to pass with and graduate. But students students in the scholarship are constantly working and constantly finding ways to better themselves. Um, and I'm so thankful for the stability it has brought to my life. During that time, my wife has helped out a lot. I'm so thankful for her. She works very, very hard for me to be able to focus on my schooling. She works very, very hard for me to just invest my time into my education. And that's a lesson that I'm trying to teach to everybody. No matter your background, no matter your skin tone, it's a lesson that is very important for everyone to know. The value of an education is incredible. We are able to share so much information out there, so many experiences, and we're able to experience the world that we have been given. Oof. But um, so the last thing I want to mention was ways to connect and ways to plug in. I've seen a lot of folks throughout my time of doing this work of mentorship, trying to connect with organizations, trying to figure out what can we give our students. And I've seen people in the Capitol talk to others, say, "Hey, have you heard of our students? Have you seen what they're doing?" Many of them very, very, very bright, but just not having that connection, or not having the um, the ability to work in this certain industry. Well, I've seen people that I didn't that would meet at a cafe, or I would meet at an event that we would just like this, like have like a group of people talking about a topic, whether it be just like the news around Nashville or volunteering around, I would see people in the Capitol and just connect with those legislators. It's very important to make connections to people that you are invested in, or people that are that sometimes for me might be harder to reach. And I'm grateful for everyone who has plugged in and given me so much support. I will continue to do the work that I'm doing, and I will continue to give back to this organization, and I hope you guys do too, whichever way you can plug in. But I'm thankful, and that's all I gotta say. Hopefully everyone saw the props.
Thank you, Cleaver. We are so proud of you. Cleaver did share that he did a program through NASA last summer, and he is just an incredible representation of what students can be when they plug in and believe in themselves. He's a student at Lipscomb University, and it reminds me of the last thing I wanted to leave with you, which is that your ordinary work in the community is ministry. You may, like me, not be a theologian. It doesn't matter, because if you say yes to the call of God in your life to do something that feels right, you are spreading the ministry that God's love is for all of us and that it's transformative. Cleaver, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but he shared with me that by attending Lipscomb and meeting some of the individuals there, he was able to expand his view on the Christian faith. And I think that's true of many ECE students. It's just because of the business model that the majority of our students attend Christian schools. And it's not a thing that we've built into our intentional mission, but it's a reality that many of our students are exposed to Christian principles because of receiving the ECE scholarship. So I hope that you leave this meeting feeling very proud and very inspired of what you can do. Yes, don't leave without letting Dr. Spalding share a word. Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you where. That's exactly right. Thank you, Dr. Spalding. Are these students getting jobs? What are they doing? All right, so here's what they are doing. We've got 232 graduates in the Tennessee workforce. They are doctors, they are nurses. Some of them have gone on to law school. Check out this list of our graduate degrees. Cumberland University, a master's in business administration. We've got some folks from Lipscomb who have gone on to obtain a master's of accounting. We have a Meharry Medical graduate who is currently practicing medicine, an MTSU Masters of Accounting grad, a Nashville School of Law graduate, Trevecca Masters of Hospital Management, University of Alabama Physician's Assistants Program graduates, UT Knoxville Masters in Architecture. We have a grad who went to Yale Law School, y'all. Vanderbilt University Masters of Teaching the Deaf, that was our first graduate, and the Vanderbilt University Masters of Engineering. This is just those who have gone on to get master's degrees. This does not include all of our teachers, all of our nurses, all of our engineers who have gone on to get the rest of their engineering degree. And the statistics will blow you away. And it's just the beginning, because we've got only a couple classes of graduates. Think about the 380 who are currently enrolled who will graduate over the next 3 years and what they will do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope your hearts swell with pride knowing that you're the only state in the country doing it like this. There's no other program that's driven by a person, by a small group, and that's funding kids across the state. There's Dream.us that funds students across the country and excludes states for which there's no tuition equity. And that's the truth. The reason we have to do it as individuals is because we don't, in the state of Tennessee, recognize equitable cost for students if they are not born here or they don't have permanent residence or citizenship. So that's another way to plug in. I'm not advocating in terms of bills that we really need, but the truth is, if we had tuition equity, there would be more opportunities for our students, and it's just something to think about. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you, Raquel and Vanessa, and thank you for persevering, and for all of the young people like yourself. We talked a couple weeks ago about adverse childhood experiences and how difficult it is. And we're grateful that this organization could come around you and others to help get a leg up. Raquel, it's wonderful. I didn't mention at the beginning that you're a member here and your family is, but it is such a gift to have you and your family as part of this congregation. We love you. Thank you all so much. And Mike, thank you. God bless you. Lord be with you. God, you have touched our heart this morning through this class, and we pray that each one here and throughout the congregation, we might join this vision of how we might love radically in a hard world. Grant renewed vision and encouragement to those who help lead ECE, and give us all a sense of what your shalom might be for all of your children. For it's in Christ I pray. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Just real quick, next week, we're going to have the next 2 weeks, a seminary classmate of mine who has a nearly unpronounceable Finnish last name, who is a professor at a college in Iowa, talking with us, and I invite you to come and be part of that. You'll see more about that in the blast this week, but he'll zoom in and teach 2 classes for us, so I invite you to come. Grace and peace. Bye.